and compassionate flag signing project. And also to thank all of the signers, the survivors, because you are so important to us and to the community. Karen Korematsu, as you know, Fred's daughter, she couldn't be here with us today. She's in Pennsylvania. She was invited to give the graduation commencement speech at Haverford College and to receive an honorary degree. But her heart is with us today. At the beginning of the year, Judge Gogo presented one of the signed flags to Karen and to the Korematsu Institute. A wonderful video was made of that by Henry Nakata, I believe. And that flag is treasured by Karen. Just recently, she was able to start speaking in person, making her in-person speaking engagements. And she brings that flag with her. She wants to share it and talk about it. And actually yesterday, she was in Philadelphia. She had meetings at the National Constitution Center, and she brought the flag with her. Also on Fred Korematsu Day in Arizona, she met with Governor Ducey, who signed Fred Korematsu Day in Arizona in perpetuity. And she met with legislators there, and she shared the flag and stories, and they were very interested, she said. And just recently, she was in New Jersey. She spoke at a high school, Barringer High School in Newark, New Jersey. And later that day, she had been invited to speak at Rutgers University, and she shared the flag and stories with college students there. So that flag has been going to a lot of places and has been shared with many more people. And we have Judge Gogo to thank for that. So we are so appreciative. And just on a personal note, I signed the flag for my two sisters who are survivors, but they couldn't get to any of the flag signings. So Judge Gogo said to go ahead and sign for them, which I did. Was very proud to do. And one of my sisters was 2.5 years old, and the other one was 6 months old when they entered Heart Mountain Camp with my parents. And in the fall of 1945, they left camp, and my mother was pregnant with me. So I'm doubly honored to be here today, and just very grateful. And also just want to add a thank you to Chris Hioki, Judge Hayashi, and everyone else who worked hard to make this event happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon. Next, I'd like to invite up a representative from Mayor Sam Liccardo's office for a presentation to Judge Gogo and the Japanese American Museum. Please welcome Mr. Stephen Nyo.
Thank you very much. My name is Stephen Ngo, and I'm here on behalf of Mayor Liccardo's office. I'm very honored to be here amongst all of you. And I would like to thank Judge Gogo for this project. It is a very important piece of history that he is preserving. And I'd like to acknowledge and recognize the sacrifices of all of you and your family members who had to endure what was a very dark chapter in the history of the United States. And your freedoms were taken away solely based on your cultural heritage. And it's important to remember this so that it does not happen to future generations, and that future generations remember your sacrifices, but also, more importantly, your perseverance and what you gave back once you came out of those camps. Many of you went on to build businesses, serve in the military, became great patriots. And some of them went on to serve in our government. Former Representative Mike Honda, former Mayor Mineta, and we are very blessed in the city of San Jose to be one of 3 cities in the United States to have a Japantown and also have the Japanese American Museum here to preserve all that history. And if I can, I'd like to share a very quick story about meeting Mayor Mineta. Now, I'm sure many of you have had a relationship with Mayor Mineta, and you've had very, long years of getting to know him and everything. But I got to meet him in May 2019 while he was going to proclaim May as Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month, something that he introduced along with Representative Frank Horton. And you could really tell how loved he was at City Hall and the relationship that people had with him, depending on how they referred to him. Some called him Mr. Mayor, some called him Congressman, depending on where they met him in their careers. And in fact, Mayor Liccardo interned for Mayor Mineta when he was Congressman. And something that really struck me, besides how friendly he always gave whoever walked up to him or waved to him, he made sure to stop, say hi. But it was something that he said during his proclamation that really resonated with me, and I thought I'd like to share it with all of you. The beauty of this country is that it welcomes all to its shores, and people characterize the United States as a melting pot. But I don't like that theory, because you pour things into a crucible, stir it all up, and then everything loses its identity. I like to think of the United States of America as yarns. Yarns of different colors, each on their own, are beautiful. They're strong, but they represent the art, the culture, the history, the religion of all the countries from which our forebears have come. And yet, when they are sewn together, it makes for a strong whole. And to me, that's what the United States of America is all about. Yarns being knitted together, representing different countries, religions, arts, cultures, yet woven together to make a strong whole. And that's what this city's all about, and that's what this country's all about. And he ended it by saying his favorite job was being mayor of San Jose. And I would really like to honor this project on behalf of Mayor Liccardo and the City Council by inviting members of the Japanese American Museum and Judge Gogo with a commendation for the 48-star flag signing project. Whereas Judge Johnny Gogo started the 48-star American Flag Project to honor the extreme hardships, sacrifices, resiliency, and loyalty of Japanese Americans who were put into internment camps during World War II, and the 48-star flag signed by over 1,000 internment camp survivors, and is the flag that flew in the internment camps where 120,000 Japanese Americans across the United States were held. And San Jose is truly fortunate to be home to one of the 3 remaining Japantowns in the United States, and home to the Japanese American Museum of San Jose, which showcases their experience and their history. And after their time in the internment camps, many Japanese Americans went on to make great contributions to the United States, including former San Jose Mayor Norman Y. Mineta and Congressman Mike Honda. Therefore, I, Sam Liccardo, Mayor of the City of San Jose, along with my colleagues on the San Jose City Council, on this 14th day of May 2022, do hereby recognize and commend the 48-star American Flag Signing Project.
As you've been hearing so much about the late Norm Mineta, who was so much a part of the national recognition of what the collective Japanese American experience was, and such a fighter for so many of the things that were, whether it's restitution or whether it's here in the San Jose area with AAPI Month. We are going to ask Chris Hioki from the Japanese American Museum to come up and say a few words. Chris.
Thank you so much. I just want to add a little bit to what Stephen said, and that was absolutely wonderful tribute that you did give to Norm. It's so I'll read, the museum did a Facebook posting, and I'll read what we have there. So actually, this was written by Vanessa. For those of you who know me, know I can't write this eloquently, so I give credit where credit is due. So we're saddened to hear of the passing of Norm Mineta, and this is my own here. So I don't know if you're aware, but we have on this side of the house, this is the Mineta family home. So it's close, and so we're always thinking of the Mineta family. He was an inspiration to the Japanese American community, a barrier-breaking and respected private leader, and a proud San Jose Japantown native. He will be greatly missed, and our difficult condolences go out to his family during this difficult time. So I know that Norm did sign the flag.
When I first started this flag signing project, as you heard, some of my inspirations were Judge Hayashi and Karen Korematsu, and Dale Minami, one of our civil rights leaders and attorneys in the Bay Area. Unfortunately, Dale is celebrating his anniversary, and so he said that he gives his thanks, and he's here in spirit as well. But when I first started this flag signing project, I knew, because I'd been living in San Jose for the last 25 years, I knew that there were two prominent Japanese Americans who were serving in our government that were interned as children, and that was Congressman Mike Honda and Secretary Norman Mineta. And when I first started this project, I knew that I wanted to reach out to those two individuals and to have them be two of the first people to sign the flag. And sure enough, if you take a look at this flag after the ceremony, the first two stars on this end are signed by Secretary Mineta and Congressman Honda. Now, when Congressman Honda, real quick story, when Congressman Honda signed the flag for me, I met him at the 4th Street Bowl. Some of you know where that is, not too far from here. He loves to go there, if you know Congressman Honda. And we sat down and we were having brunch. And again, if you know Congressman Honda, he can be combative. And so he started to question me. He said, now, Johnny, why do I want to sign this flag? He says, Johnny, isn't signing the flag defacing the flag? And I said, well, Congressman Honda, I said, one could argue that putting your name or signing the United States flag could be argued again to be defacing the flag. But I said the purpose in this 48-star flag, specifically that flag with those number of stars, is to honor, again, the Japanese Americans that were incarcerated unjustly without due process of law. And it's to honor the sacrifice and the legacy and the loyalty. And ultimately, I convinced my Congressman Honda to sign the flag. And ultimately, I was connected to Secretary Mineta out on the East Coast. And so I had to make plans to fly out to Washington, D.C., landed in D.C., and then he actually lived at the time a few hours, or maybe about an hour away. So I had to get a rental car and drove out to his property on the Chesapeake Bay. And I only planned to spend maybe about 30 minutes at most, introduce myself, tell him about the project, and have him sign the flag, and then I would leave. Well, Secretary Norman Mineta invited me into his home. And that initial 30-minute plan that I had ended up being 3 hours. We had a fantastic conversation, fantastic lunch. He shared his history with me. And one of the things that I will treasure, obviously now that he's passed away, is he gave me one of his challenge coins that lists him as the Secretary of Transportation for the United States of America. And this challenge coin I'm going to treasure with me, obviously, for the rest of my life because it comes from Norman Mineta. And lastly, I think Susan Mineta might be in the crowd with us. Susan Mineta, you just raise your hand. Thank you for coming to help represent the Mineta family. We do appreciate your presence.
I mean, yeah, Secretary Mineta is just a beloved. It's here. Did you want to say anything, Susan?
I just wanted to say that, of course, our family is sad about this, his passing and all. And he was so involved still until shortly before he died. And he was very active still in volunteering things and doing Zoom meetings and things like that. But we're really lifted up because of, I think, just his memory and his accomplishments, and really so many nice comments from the community that we really appreciate. And so thank you for the support. We really appreciate that. And I also, just wanted to take a moment to recognize Judge Gogo and for all of you in the front that led this project, this flag signing project. When I heard of it, I just thought it was an amazing thing. And so I wanted to congratulate all of you and thank you for this nice, memory and keeping things alive. And I just thought it was a wonderful project. Congratulations.
Susan, thank you so much for that and also for being here. And our thoughts are definitely with all of you, with the Mineta family. And, we hope that you'll come up, and you saw Judge Gogo point out the 2 stars that are here on the flag that will be presented to the Japanese American Museum. And we hope that you'll let people know, too, people who weren't able to be here, about this so that other people can come and see it and understand it and get some of this very precious history that we're preserving here that comes from all of you, all of these people in the community. So thank you so much. We'd like to also see if we could have a few speakers come up to join us just to share a few brief thoughts. So first is, I think, Margaret Nakamura Cooper is here with us today. Margaret, could you please come up and join us with a few words? And also, I think Kiyo Sato, who came from Sacramento so far, if you could also come up. We'd like to have everyone hear just a few words from both of you.
Everybody, thank you for coming. I was born in Mountain View in 1930. And everyone in my family was born in this country, except my father, who was an Issei and born in Japan. But he was in a double bind, you see, because he could not become a citizen. So for many years, I didn't know that my mother lost her citizenship for 11 years because she married my father, who was from Japan. And so she was 100 years old at the time, and she lived to be 107. But my story is about how I felt about the incarceration. You see, I was only in the end of my 6th grade, because that summer I would have matriculated to the 7th grade. And suddenly, from December 7th, when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, until April, when I was incarcerated in Santa Maria, I was numb. I didn't realize that they could do this to me. I was born here. This was the only country I knew. I'd never been to Japan, so how could I have allegiance to a country that I'd never been to? But it really fell upon me what it meant to be behind barbed wire when I stepped off the train in Arcadia, California, in Santa Anita, and I saw those barbed wire fences around the camp. And then I suddenly realized that I was a prisoner in a concentration camp in the United States of America. While in camp, my Aunt Pauline gave birth to my cousin Byron. The first time I saw Byron, he was lying in a lettuce crate. And in the lettuce crate was a thin blanket. He was lying there, much as another baby boy was born 2,000 years before in another country, also alone. When I was in Santa Anita, in order to take a shower, I had to go to a barracks that with only showers and no stalls. It was very unnerving to be naked in this great big vast place where everybody was naked. Of course, with Japanese people that didn't make too much difference, I suppose, but with me it did. When we went to Heart Mountain, Wyoming, a place that I had never been to and only read about, we were in a train. And in this train, there were soldiers at each end of each car. And the soldiers had rifles with bayonets on them. And you know, to a kid, a junior high school kid, that was very frightening. We were told to pull down the shades. I don't know whether it was to keep us from looking out or keep others from looking in. But no matter. We finally ended up in Heart Mountain, Wyoming, in barracks with just tar paper and planks of wood hastily put together. If we had to go to the bathroom, we had to step out the barracks and walk quite a ways to the latrine. So we didn't do that too often. And in the winter time, the snow was so deep, it sort of created a tunnel. And I do remember walking down this tunnel, but you know, we had good times and bad times, because my brother Kenny was 11 years old, 18 months younger than I was. He used to play ping pong with Bacon Sakatani, who is here today. And of course, unfortunately, Kenny died in camp. That was a very sad moment, because my mother didn't want to leave his remains in this God-forsaken place. So she had his ashes saved and brought them back to California with us. So when my father died, he placed Kenny's ashes with my father. So my mother really suffered. We all suffered from the loss of Kenny. And if he were alive today, he'd be 18 months younger than me, and I am 91. So Kenny would be close to 90, I guess. So there are many sad things in my life that happened, and I wish they hadn't happened. And I realize how unconstitutional this all was, but I can't take it back. So I'm given the opportunity to tell other people about what happened to me. And even though I lost Kenny, a brother that would be with me tonight or today if he hadn't died of spinal meningitis, I am I'm going to make lemonade out of lemons because those few years that I spent in camp do not define who I am. I am a person who survived, and it was once said that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I hope today that I'm a stronger person and I can live a fruitful life. Thank you very much.
Margaret, thank you so much for that really inspiring speech and for sharing such personal stories. We'd like to next invite up Kyo Sato, who came here from Sacramento to join us today so far, but we so appreciate it.
I found that there's people older than me here today. I am 99. And I want to tell you that I still remember my prisoner number 25217C. It's not tattooed on my arm, but it's tattooed in my brain forever. My father was 25217A, my mother was B, and down the line I have 6 brothers and 2 sisters, all younger than myself. And so my baby brother David was 25217K. Now, Margaret certainly had a lot to say and has some wonderful memories. You've lived, a span of almost 100 years. You see things, one sees things a little bit differently. I remember so clearly the time when we were on that train, that rickety, dirty, filthy train over there in Sacramento. And we couldn't hardly see through the window, and we could hardly sit down because of all the dirt. But here we were, 2 guards at each end with a bayonet. And as Margaret said, you know, we had to pull down the shades and all that. What it was so amazing is what the Issei's especially took all this. I was 19, and I thought this was the end of my career, the end of everything. And once that train started to move, I just broke down and cried. I cried, and I couldn't stop crying. What was so amazing is that here I was thinking the world had come to an end, and a youngster brings me a sushi. Can you imagine? Did you have that kind of experience, Margaret? But sushi, a mother had stayed up all night fixing a big box of furoshiki of sushi for all of us. Can't imagine. My mother and I fixed a flat of onigiri, rice balls, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And we were all passing this food out, and my mother offered the box to the guard. And of course he refused. He was standing at attention. But what was so interesting, after a while, I saw some of the younger kids walk that way to the end of the train and didn't come back. I said, well, this is interesting. And I watched these guys go and never come back. So I said, well, I'm gonna do that too. So I walked, and lo and behold, can you imagine? By that time, the guards had put their bayonet against the wall, and one of them was sitting on the floor with his legs sticking out. So then I tried to walk over the leg, and he pulled his leg in. Can you imagine? And I walked maybe about 3 cars ahead doing that, and hit the baggage car. And here were all these young kids gathered in the baggage car, having a good time. I was so tired, I leaned against one of the baggages and fell asleep. But that's, you know, I want to first tell you that the Issei's are the ones who has taken us on this proper road. And it was always Kodomo no Tameni. You've heard that? Yes. Kodomo no Tameni? It means for the sake of children. They've lost everything. My neighbors lost 20 acres, everything on it. A couple of them. And yet it was always Kodomo no Tameni. This is what we need to remember. It's the children who is so important. And would you believe, when we got to camp, the first thing the young kids did, the Niseis, especially the young men, start a baseball team in the fire break. Somebody else found a tree stump, small tree stump, and put a wire around it for a basketball. All these things started happening. And I won't tell you too many things. I mean, if you'd like to know the details of my story, it is in my book, Dandelion Through the Crack, or through Kiyo's story. I believe you do have a copy here too. Anyway, everything we did in camp. Children got lost because all the buildings were black tar paper. I've had trouble myself finding my barrack, black barrack. And would you believe that every child lost was brought back by somebody? Always. My brothers and sisters who were little said, we had a good time in camp. Of course. Except I want to tell you about one thing that Margaret mentioned. I still have nightmares from it. And that is the obenjo. Do you know what obenjo is? Anybody? All of you are so young. That's the communal toilet. My obenjo had pinholes on over a pit. 5 this way and 5 the other way. And I said, I can't go sit there with all those strangers. So I said, I'm going to go in the middle of the night. Well, I went in the middle of the night, and everybody else had the same idea. So, but that's how it is. And I still, to this day, talk about PTSD. I still, in my dreams, in my nightmares, or whatever you call it, I'm looking for the proper toilet. One of them would be a child's toilet sitting on top of the floor. One of them would be a cloth made whatever. It's amazing what my brain thinks of. And so anyway, that's one of the stories. There's so many other things I'd like to share with you, but let me tell you one thing here. Since my release from Poston Camp 2, there were 18,700 of us there. I have not stopped speaking, and we formed, our VFW formed the Speakers Bureau, and we've been going since 1986. And I owe my beginning to a red cap in Elkhart, Indiana. I was so scared, well, not really scared, but anyway, fearful of what might happen. And this red cap in Elkhart, Indiana stopped me and it said, "Where'd you come from?" I said, "Poston, Arizona." "What did you do there?" I told him. And he said, "Let me buy you a cup of coffee." So we sat there for 20 minutes. He was asking questions, and I told him the truth. That was my beginning. I was so grateful to that young man. I still am. I tried to contact him, but I haven't been able to. He's probably gone. And then students often ask, even though we've been talking for so many years, and so many of you have done the same thing. He said, "How come we don't hear much about you guys?" That means our Japanese American history. That's true. It's the first time they hear when we speak. In our VFW, we had 15 to 25 speakers going out all over. We've trained some of your VFW posts. We've also gone to some of your JACL posts with our now PowerPoint presentation. I jotted down a few things, but I'm going to quit. I think you've been very patient. One thing that we've heard Minidoka mention. One thing that we don't hear, I learned when I was speaking to the Horatio Alger Society. A gentleman from New York sent me this information saying, we lived near Minidoka, Hakuji, near Minidoka, and I want to tell you that the last person who was left at Minidoka would not move. So he said they handcuffed her. Can you imagine one woman being handcuffed and taken to the train? I wish I could have been there with her. She had probably gone to camp with a spouse or someone, and now she's alone. Now she has nowhere to go, no home to go to. And here they handcuffed her. I hope that, I should not hope, I see that all of us are doing our very best to change the course of history. I think so much of what is good in our country, for instance, my 5 generations, my parents' 5 generations, they're all good people. All of you are good people. All of us are good human beings. But we don't talk too much about it. We keep doing whatever is right. We, you and I, the rest of us, the coming generations, are the ones who's going to get America back on track. And first things we need to do is to pay attention to our children. Therefore, my next book is titled Dandelion Puff, that's me. And I'm going to blow away soon. But there's this Kodomo no Tameni that we've learned for the sake of children. First of all, love every child that comes across your path. Let them know they don't have to be they don't have to be told beware of strangers. That's terrible. That's you and me. We're strangers. Beware of strangers. No. Let them know that we care. Smile. Give them a smile. Say hi. And we need to give our energies to our children. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that. And you know, I have to say, I started getting teary when you were talking about the Kodomo no Tameni. My mother, when I first asked her about her internship, her incarceration, one of the things that she remembered was being a small child, and she also was at Poston, and remembering all of the bugs and how frightened she and her sister were. And so they were under the covers. They couldn't get to sleep, and she remembers her grandfather, who was an Issei, standing there all night swatting the bugs. And it is amazing to me every time I hear these stories, and thank you for sharing them. Thank you also to Margaret and so many of you out there, because as somebody who's a Yonsei, these are deeply personal stories, but they are part of our history, and they are part of the American fabric that we need to remember. And it has been so sad to see, as some of the older generations pass, that they didn't get to tell their stories. So we are so grateful to the Nisei and Sansei who are still with us, and to the Issei who were able to tell their stories early on when it was not something that the community necessarily wanted to hear, the larger community. So I think that is one of the wonderful things about these projects that we see, such as this 48 star flag, that we get an opportunity to come together and once again hear from some of the people in the community who might not have had an opportunity to speak. There was one more person.
I just want to say George and I came down here from Los Angeles to honor Judge Gogo. I think all of you, please go up to Judge Gogo and thank him for what he has done. You know, he went all over the country to get a number of flags signed. So I hope all of you can go up there and thank Judge Johnny Gogo. Thank you.
Thank you, and I hope you got some pictures, did you, of him? Because he's been the one taking the pictures.
Bacon is so modest. This guy is a superstar. He is 92 years old, and he is like the Energizer Bunny. Whenever I was traveling across the country, and I visited a lot of cities, and I thought to myself, I was obviously, my day job was being a judge, right? So I had to do these on my weekends and some of my vacation time. But every time I thought, I'm a little tired. Do I want to go to the next city? Do I want to set up another flag signing event? I just thought about how much energy Bacon has at 92 years old, and I said, who am I kidding? I got to get up, and I got to get out there, and I got to meet these people and give them a chance to sign the flag. Bacon, he's the one who gave me this shirt. This shirt says Heart Mountain Reunion. He gave me this shirt as a gift. and I've had it in my house for about 9 months, because I met Bacon actually around May 5th, May 6th of last year. So it's been a year since I've known Bacon in person. And he gave me this shirt, and I've had it in my home for about 9 months, waiting for the right occasion to wear it. And I think today was appropriate for me to wear it to honor Bacon and George Useri. They drove up from Los Angeles and honor the Heart Mountain community. But Bacon Sakatani, and I'll just let me finish because I need to sing his praises. He has done so much over the last few decades to help educate our different communities about the Japanese American incarceration and the unjust unlawfulness of that practice. And for example, he was part of the group that helped bring one of the original barracks in Heart Mountain to the Japanese American National Museum in Los Angeles. So if you visit the museum there in JANM in Los Angeles, if you see the barracks that's inside the museum, Bacon Sakatani was part of the group that led the efforts in raising the money to get that barracks transferred to Los Angeles. Some of you may not know the story of Estelle Ishigi, who was a Caucasian woman who was married to a Japanese American during the incarceration period. And because of her love for her husband, she did not want to be separated from him, so she went to the Heart Mountain camp with him. And Estelle was an artist, and she did a lot of drawings and paintings in Heart Mountain. And after the camps were disbanded, Estelle and her husband moved back to Los Angeles. Her husband ended up passing away, and then Estelle kind of fell into times of hard times. And people lost track of Estelle. And ultimately, a group from Heart Mountain said, we need to find out where she is, because she did so many great paintings and drawings. And it was Bacon Sakatani who hit the trails in Los Angeles to track her down and find her for the Heart Mountain community. And there's a wonderful documentary film about Estelle that won some awards. It's been a couple years since that film. What's the name of the film, Bacon?
Days of Waiting.
Days of Waiting. Please Google that and try to watch that film, Days of Waiting. Again, I can't sing Bacon's praises enough, and I'm so honored and moved and happy that he was able to drive up and meet us. 92 years old, driving from Los Angeles. Can you imagine that? Thank you, Bacon. We appreciate you.
When you greet Johnny, please notice the Japanese calligraphy on his chest. And it says, Kokoro Kara, from my heart.
I want to tell you that if I were as young as all of you here, I would love to take that flag and put it in the auditorium where often we go, library, auditorium, whatever, and take my laser pointer and say, there's my mother who was incarcerated, or there's my sister, or whoever. It'll be a wonderful teaching tool. It already is, of course, but isn't it wouldn't it be great to do that? That's my dream. But it'll have to be my daughter or all of you, not me. Carry on.
I don't know. I'm thinking, the Japanese people tend to be long-lived, and I think they, go up to, my grandfather was 104, so I think all of you might well have quite a few more decades left to keep telling your stories. Well, at this point, you have been hearing about the different flags, and I did want to just mention the flag that we have here, as Judge Gogo mentioned, is flag number 1. But as you can see, it got quite filled up, and so as a result, there have been other flags that he has acquired as well, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now 6, which is back in the back right now, that is open. And so this is something which is a project that is ongoing and which is continuing to bring people together, continuing to document in the fabric, in those threads that Stephen was mentioning. The ink that you press into it is part of the history that is being pressed into these flags. So at this point, I think we would like to have the presentation of this flag number 1, and to receive it on behalf of the Japanese American Museum, we are very honored to have the Vice President of the Japanese American Museum Board, Gordon Smith, to come up and receive the flag. Judge Gogo, did you want to say a few words?
So I just wanted to I'm grateful that we're able to have some of our flag signers join us. Many of the flag signers actually signed flag number 1, which is being donated to JAMS. Flag number 6, if I forgot to mention it earlier, flag number 6 is in the back. It's going to travel to the different museums, the camp museums, right? Manzanar, Minidoka, Tule Lake, Heart Mountain, etc. So flag number 6 is available to sign. Sign it out. I think I've already taken it to many different cities, and so I think room to sign it is on the red stripes. For the veterans, I want you to sign a star as well. If you haven't already signed flag number 6, sign one of the stars. If all of the stars on the front are signed, for the stars, you can flip it on the back because it's double stitched. And I want all the veterans to sign the flag, sign one of the stars on the back, okay? So with respect to flag number 1, Gordon, again, on behalf of this flag signing project, it's an honor to donate flag number 1 to the Japanese American Museum of San Jose. And when I started this project, the intent was to only have one flag. I did not know when I started this project that we were going to quickly fill up flag number 1 and quickly fill up flag number 2 and number 3 and number 4 and number 5. So it's been truly an amazing journey for me to meet so many different people across the country. And as Jana indicated, the flag project, the mission continues with flag number 6 as I take that to Hawaii next week, and then I'm going to send it out to Colorado, Amachi, the following week, and then we'll have it travel out to Heart Mountain, and so on and so forth, to different communities. And I forget, because I met Jana through this process, and she told me her mom was in one of the camps and now lives in Ohio. Jana and I are going to follow up so I can make sure that we send the flag to her mom in Ohio to have the Japanese American community to sign it in Ohio. So thank you again, Joanne. So Gordon, you want to say any short words, Gordon?
Hello, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Gordon Smith. I'm the Vice President of the Japanese American Museum of San Jose. I'm very honored to accept this flag on behalf of the museum from Judge Johnny Gogo. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to say I'm very happy that the next flag is going to also go to Hawaii, since my wife and I are both from Hawaii, and the first time I've learned about the internment of Japanese Americans was when I was dating my wife. And I learned that her grandfather on her mother's side was one of only 2,000 Japanese Americans in Hawaii who had been sent to camps on the mainland. But they, like many families, didn't talk about it. It was only after I started volunteering here at the museum that I really learned what the internment was all about. And I'm very proud and happy to be able to tell that story to other people. And before I leave, I'd like to introduce one of our other members, another member of our board of directors, Chris Hioki. Would you please come up? Please come up, Chris. Please give him a big hand of applause. He is a very hard worker. He's the one on behalf of the museum that really made this flag signing process work. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you to everybody. This was a huge project, putting everything together. We had so much help on it, and it makes it a lot easier. We get some everybody helping out. So, okay, thanks.
So at this point, I'd like to ask Judge Gogo and Chris and also Gordon to raise the flag so that we can get a photo for the museum and also for the project. That has gone into this project, Judge Gogo, thank you for all of that, and also to the Japanese American Museum and to everybody who traveled so far to put their names on it. He had mentioned in Ohio, but also, as many of you know, the MIS was moved to the Midwest, to Minnesota, and I know there are a number of different survivors who are there as well. So it is a wonderful thing to see this project grow and grow. At this point, we would like to just quickly acknowledge, because we heard from 3 of the people who were incarcerated and survived, but could we please see a show of hands of all the people who are here with us today who also were in camps? Please stand or please raise your hands so that we can acknowledge all of you as well, because it is tremendous how much you make up the fabric of our community. And we are so grateful for everything that you do, whether you are giving speeches or whether you are just sharing your stories with families. Thank you. We are so honored to have you here. So just briefly, we do want to thank the Santa Clara Superior Court, the J-Town Community TV, which has been part of some of these programs and documenting, Henry Nakata and Jeannie Katsuro. We would also like to thank the people with the Japanese American Museum who have been so gracious in giving us this opportunity to be here today and providing the volunteers and the staff to be able to help with all of this. Judy Higuchi, Leslie Kim, Vanessa Hatakayama, Erin Ushiro, and Denise Hayashi, thank all of you for your work and your volunteerism. My thanks to KTVU for supporting us as we do these volunteer events and MC, and also Carol Rast of Roy Station. Many of you know Roy Station as thank you so much. Who is also, one of the community centers as people were going to sign this, tremendous amount of support and a long-standing kind of fixture in the community here. So important. So thanks to all of you. Thanks to Mayor Liccardo's office, to the Mineta family. Thank you for being here today, as well as the, all of the support from the Korematsu Institute. So at this point, we would like to see if we could get a photo, and so if we could.
No, look at the camera.
Okay, yes.
Ni-san.
Ni-san.
She.
Go.
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 Go. Let's go.
Kodiozo. George Shimizu. Sakamoto Sam. Kiyosato. Georgie Sir.
Bacon Takatani.
David Nakamura. Judge Johnny Gogo.
I'm Jason Asagawa.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.